Hi, everyone. I want to spend some time today. Basically, the topic for this month is going to be fear and courage, and how to go from moving past fear into action. So, first, let's talk a little bit about fear. We all have fears. We have major fears, and then we have some fears that are really what's holding us back from moving forward with really following our dreams and following our hearts and doing what we truly want to do with our lives or what we truly desire to do. Again, this is kind of going along the lines of living with purpose. Part of the reason why we don't live with purpose is because we become afraid of consequences for actions, consequences for inaction, consequences for making changes, and we're afraid of everything. We're afraid of failing. We're afraid of being successful. We're afraid of what other people will think of us. We're afraid of what our family will think of us. We're afraid of what we'll think of ourselves. And so a lot of times these fears, and it's more really feelings than anything, keep us from truly moving forward with what will really make us happy in our lives. So some things in my life, for example, one of them is my book. I have talked about it a couple times, but I've been writing my book for a couple of years. And one of the reasons why I really procrastinated on finishing the book was because I was afraid that no one would buy it, that no one would read it. I was afraid that maybe everybody would read it and I would be on Oprah and, she would be on her books to read list. And then all of a sudden I'm going to be super famous. And, how am I going to handle dealing with that? How are my friends going to handle dealing with that? How is my family going to handle dealing with that? And because of those fears, I really just drug my feet on getting it done, even though I know, like deep in my heart, I know that this is something that I need to do. It's something that I have to get done and I have to put out into the world. Ever since I was a child, since I was a really little child, I have known, I've had like this fire burning inside of me, telling me that I need to be a teacher. And when I was younger, I thought being a teacher meant that you had to go to college and, get an education and go and like work in elementary school or middle school or high school. And as I was going through middle school and high school and seeing how everything was changing, and this is in the late 80s and the early 90s, seeing how everything was changing, I thought to myself, there's no way I could do this for a living. I couldn't come in and teach the same thing to, untold numbers of children or, teenagers for the rest of my life. I just can't. The thought of that literally made me nauseous. But I still had this drive to teach. And a lot of things happened in my life, and a lot of things needed to change. And so I went through a lot of things, bad relationships, failed jobs, a lot of different traumas, a lot of trials and tribulations. And through all of that, I learned a lot. And then I met my husband, and he helped me to realize that I was worthy of a better life. He gave me hope. He made me believe that I could do better, that I could be better. And in learning that, I started to change my life. Now, a lot of what I did in the beginning of my life, in the beginning years of my life, when I was going through all of these, issues and whatever, I was afraid to talk to anybody. I was in bad relationships, and I was afraid to tell people that I was in these bad relationships because I was terrified of what they would think of me. I was afraid, like, everybody would judge me, like, you're too smart. Why would you even think about getting in a relationship with somebody like that? And then once you were in a relationship with somebody like that, how could you possibly even stay in a relationship like that? I hear people all the time, oh my God, it kills me. How can a woman stay in a relationship where the man is abusing her? And unless you have lived through an abusive relationship, or you have actually been a part of an abusive relationship, you have no idea how badly the abuser beats down the person that's being abused. And so I was in a mentally abusive relationship. And at the time, I didn't even know there was such a thing as mental abuse. I thought it was only physical violence. And I swore that I would never let a man hit me. But I didn't have any really good role models for relationships growing up. So I didn't understand what a true, good, loving relationship was like. And so I ended up in this relationship with this mentally abusive person. And he alienated me from all my friends and all my family, moved me miles away, wouldn't let me have a bank account. I couldn't have a cell phone. I had curfews. I was given like time allotments. So, I could go to work, and he knew exactly how long it would take me to get to work. He would call and find out, like, did she get here on time? And if not, what happened? Where did you go? And so, it was horrifying. Like, we would go to the store, and I couldn't pay for anything. I was given an allowance. I smoked at the time, and my allowance was just enough money to pay for gas to get to and from work, and then to buy a pack of cigarettes or two for the week. And that was all I was given. He paid for everything. He was in control of all the finances. I would get my checks, and I would have to sign them over to him, and he would deposit them into his bank account. And we would go to the bank, and he would take money out. He would make me turn my head and go like this, so I couldn't see the PIN number that he was putting in, so that, I couldn't steal his debit card or whatever from his wallet and take money out of the bank account, money that was rightfully mine. I worked 2 jobs, and every week I would get my checks and I would sign them over to him. So I lived in fear. I spent a long time in my life living in fear, afraid of what would happen to me if I said the wrong thing, afraid of what would happen to me if I did the wrong thing, afraid of the negativity, the constant negativity, the constant berating, the constant, why did you do this? Why did you go there? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do what I said? And eventually you just become an automaton. You don't end up having an opinion for yourself. You don't end up wanting anything for yourself, because you don't know that it's okay to actually want something for yourself. And when I met my husband, it was really strange. This man who was really, really kind to me, who, like, truly kind to me. No man I'd ever dated before had ever really been truly kind to me. And it terrified me. So now I'm afraid of this person who's actually being nice to me. Like, okay, what's his game? What's going on? What's he doing? Why is he doing this? What does he want? And I was even more afraid of that than I was of the abuse, because the abuse is familiar. This is completely different. This is uncharted territory for me. So I was absolutely terrified of what was going on and what was going to happen. So I tried everything I could to destroy the relationship. I tried really, really hard to destroy the relationship. The interesting thing is that no matter how hard I tried to push away, he would grab me and pull me tighter and hold me close. And just that little bit made me shift my thinking. And in dating him, about the first year we started seeing each other, he encouraged me to go back to school. I was in my mid-20s by then, and I'd been living on my own since I was 16. So I never went to college out of high school. Honestly, I barely graduated high school. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys right now. Something that I've been absolutely terrified to tell people because I'm afraid of what they'll think of me. I actually didn't graduate from high school because my father kicked me out my senior year, and I was living with my boyfriend, struggling to try and make ends meet. And I couldn't finish all my coursework. And so my boyfriend encouraged me to actually go to adult education. So in my early 20s, I went to adult education, took 2 classes, and I actually got my high school diploma. And then after that, I applied to college and got in and started my ridiculous amount of schooling. Anyway, so there's a fear out there. Okay, now it's out there for everybody to know. I didn't graduate from high school. I have a diploma from adult education. Yeah, okay, whatever. Shit happens. That's my life. That's the way it is. So anyway, I have allowed all of these fears to drive what has happened to me in my life and what I have done with my life. And once I started to realize that the fear is what's holding me back, it's what's keeping me from doing what I need to do and from going where I need to go, it's made my life so much better. So like, I have, besides my husband, nobody, and the people who were in class with me, nobody else besides all of you now know that I went to adult education. I was ashamed to tell people that I didn't graduate from high school, that I actually went to adult education and got my diploma. And talking about it now, I'm like, whatever, you know, it is what it is. And I actually don't feel bad. Because you know what? If you guys are going to judge me because of that, then that's fine. I don't really care, honestly. I did what I did. I did what was necessary for me to survive at that time in my life. And I did go to school. I just was busy. Like, I would leave school and go to work and work until 8 o'clock at night. Then I'd have to go home and eat. And I was one of those weird people, like as a senior in high school, I could have taken all the fluff classes, you know, like a lot of seniors do because they've already taken the majority of the classes that they need in order to graduate. Well, me, of course, I'm a type A people pleaser, if I haven't told you before, or you haven't seen it in my previous videos. I took all the hard classes. I had anatomy and physiology. I had just like all these really hard classes. And the hardest one was compository writing. We had to write these ridiculous papers. Now, I'm not saying they're ridiculous because I'm really glad I took the class and I really learned a lot and I'm really grateful that I took it. But it was a lot of work. And I really just struggled with trying to get everything done for school when I was literally struggling to survive. I mean, it was really, really difficult for me because at the time, I was only like 17 years old. And I didn't know anything about being on my own or taking care of myself. And I was forced into it. I wasn't given a choice. I literally was kicked out of the house with the clothes I was wearing and my school books. And that's it. Like I had nothing, literally nothing. And I had to start over from nothing. And I've done that multiple times in my life through unfortunate series of events that have taken place. But I decided to stop letting fear rule my life. I decided to stop letting fear hold me back. So now my book is finished and I've actually sent it to the publisher. And the few times stuff has come back, again, I've dragged my feet on, getting the things done that need to be done. Simple things, change the wording here or, change the attribution to, wasn't like I just realized or I just found out that Maya Angelou didn't do a quote. It was somebody else. So I had to, redo who actually did the quote, but it's like this stuff comes. And then I start again, the whole like, okay, well, is this really something that I need to do? Should I really do this? And my brain just starts with all the negativity, like, if you do this, then this is going to happen, then this. And it's just like takes me down this really weird, dark rabbit hole of negative baloney that I really need to stop listening to. And so that happens, and I immediately say, stop. Just stop. Like, I can't deal with this. I have other things I need to focus on. So I just let it go and I just move forward. So, we spent a little bit of time here talking about fears and how fears keep you stuck. And let's talk about courage. So we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about courage. And I'm going to go into courage a little more in depth next week. But everybody thinks that people who are courageous don't have any fear. But people who are courageous, they're just acting despite their fear. So me telling you that I didn't actually graduate from high school, I have a diploma from adult education, that was being courageous. That was me being courageous. Me finishing my book, that was me being courageous. People like the troops that are over in Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran and everywhere else, those people, they're terrified. Every single day, they're terrified. They don't know if they're going to live to see another day, yet they still act despite their fears because they have a job to do. They have no choice. So they still act despite their fears. Some of them might not be afraid. Those are the ones you kind of need to be worried about, but everybody's afraid. Everybody's afraid of something. We all have some fear that's holding us back. We all have some fear that's keeping us stuck, that's keeping us from moving forward with our life, that's keeping us from leaving this relationship, that's keeping us from leaving this job for a better one, that's keeping us from writing our book and publishing it when we know deep in our hearts that this is something that we need to do, because if we do it, it's truly going to help the world. Even if it doesn't help the world, if it just only helps one person, you've done your job. We all have fears that keep us from selling our house or moving to a different state or trying a different cuisine, going to a different place for dinner, trying, I'm guilty of that. I'll go to the restaurant. I have certain restaurants that I go to. And there's one thing that I like, and I know that I like it. So I won't try anything else because I know this one thing is good and I like this one thing. I don't want to spend the money on this other thing here and then have it come and it's really terrible and I don't like it. And then I'm just angry and upset because I've spent money on something that I don't want to eat. Whereas most restaurants, if you tell them that you don't like it, they'll probably change your dinner out for something else, or lunch or breakfast or whatever it is. So we're afraid to try different restaurants. We're afraid to try, Indian food or Thai food because you hear it's too spicy. You can get it with no spice. So try Indian food, try Thai food, delicious. Ethnic food, best food you can eat. You're afraid to go to Detroit. Oh my God. I can't go to Detroit. It's scary. Detroit, yeah, there are some scary parts. I will admit that. But for the most part, it's actually a really nice city. It's always been a really nice city as long as you stay in the decent areas. And now with the revitalization of Detroit, there are a lot more decent areas. So find one thing that you've been terrified to do, and every time you go and you step up to that line and you're like, okay, so you're like on the edge of the cliff and you get to the edge of the cliff. Every time you get to that edge of the cliff and you're looking over and you're going, oh God, I can't, just close your eyes and take that step and just trust that everything will work out the way it's meant to work out, because it will. An object in motion stays in motion. So if you start taking the steps that are necessary for you to do whatever it is, to change whatever habits, to move to wherever it is, you've gone from fear to being courageous. So you've just moved past fear. And I have this here. Let your faith be bigger than your fear. Both of them require the same thing. They require you to believe in something that doesn't exist. Which one would you rather put your energy into? Faith or fear? Which one is going to bring you the most return on investment? Faith or fear? You can't allow your fears to keep you stuck, to keep you mired in the muck and not happy with your life. So think about that for this week. And then next week, we'll talk more about courage. So thanks so much. And I hope you guys have a great week.